After the Supreme Court ordered the return of 60 billion pesos to state insurer PhilHealth, the issue is far from over. Good morning, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. The Center for People Empowerment and Governance, or CENPEG, urges the Marcos administration to pursue criminal charges against officials behind the transfer of 60 billion pesos from PhilHealth to the National Treasury. The group asserts those who authorized and signed the realignment should be held accountable. CENPEG is calling on Congress, the Commission on Audit, and the Office of the Ombudsman to find out how the funds were used by the Marcos administration. We'll be speaking to CENPEG Chairman and retired UP Professor Roland Simbulan. Good morning, Professor Roland.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Professor Roland, you're calling for accountability. In your opinion, who should be held liable for that transfer of PhilHealth funds that happened in the past?
Well, we feel that there are many actors involved in this mess and should be held accountable. Of course, as a collective body, Congress itself, the entire Congress, because when they included passed the legislation that allowed the finance secretary, former finance secretary Recto, to issue a circular for the transfer. So we feel that Congress, and in a way, even no less than the Philippine president, Marcos, because he was the one who signed the law, that made all this possible.
Okay. Well, kung wala pong mag-file ng mga kaso, will your group take on that initiative?
Well, we are studying this matter because I think that soon there will be some groups which are we know that who are studying this matter seriously, who might file specific cases against those individuals, but they're still building up the case against them.
You mentioned President Bongbong Marcos as among those that should be potentially liable for signing that budget, that include that special provision. I believe that was provision 1D in the General Appropriations Act that allowed the transfer of funds from PhilHealth. Do you think that this is an impeachable offense? Because the president is immune from suit. So in order to hold him accountable, there would have to be an impeachment.
Well, I think maybe that's the maximum, that we can make the president accountable. But at this point, I think it is important to first make sure that the 60 billion pesos that was taken from the trust funds of the PhilHealth is returned, And secondly, in terms of the accountability, I think the public should, as a collective nation, should make sure and pressure our government officials and institutions to collectively make sure that whoever was responsible for this mess will be held responsible and accountable, if not punished.
So para sa inyo, hindi sufficient that they returned the funds to PhilHealth. There should be accountability.
Yes, kasi, well, in the past, that is what has been lacking in our judicial and political system, accountability, we have seen many officials commit, even some impeachable crimes against our people and nation, and yet they've gotten away with it. And because of this, the corruption that began in smaller scale began to escalate and even
just
now
keeps
we are talking
growing.
about trillion pesos.
Yeah,
No? Lumaki ng lumaki, no?
Well, since CENPEG is a think tank for legislation as well, ano yung nakikita niyo pong potential legislation na pwedeng baguhin sa Pilipinas so that this doesn't happen again, yung mga, well, in law, we call it recidivism, yung paulit-ulit na lang. And there will be supposedly new arrests of for those involved in the flood control scandal. Pero merong mga senators na nababanggit that were already imprisoned before nung panahon ng PDAF scandal. Pero na-acquit lang sila. What type of legislation do you think should be?
Well, first of all, yung legislation related to transparency. We feel that in a democracy, at least the Philippines is officially a democratic country, we should finally have a Freedom of Information Act or Freedom of Information Law passed in Congress and put into effect so that we can really monitor what is happening in the government. We have Attorney Karen, we have one of the most active NGO community in the Philippines. No, we have even specific watchdogs for procurement, for the budget in the Philippine Congress. But the problem is, and I think this is also the problem with people in the media, is the lack of transparency and availability and accessibility of documents that could help them monitor corruption in government and make corruption less a possibility. So we think and feel that this should be passed into law, no? A Freedom of Information Law that we can use as an instrument to really guard and mobilize even ordinary citizens so that they can see what the government is doing.
Well, speaking of transparency, for the first time, na-live stream yung bicameral committee meeting. And CENPEG is one of the groups that's authorized or accredited to participate in the deliberations of the 2026 national budget. What type of inputs were you able to give in the preparation of the budget?
Well, we were able to input our comments related to some of the proposed budget, no, that was being discussed on during the deliberations in the budget hearings, especially the committees on appropriations and finance in both houses, no. So
were you able to see your inputs in the existing budget?
well, actually, that is always the problem, no, because first of all, we wanted to be more participatory and active, but immediately and even at the very beginning, Congress already set certain rules, no, on how and how much we can participate as well as other NGOs, no. So that was one question that we in mind. In fact, we know of some NGOs that backed out. At first, they.
What type of rules are they imposing? This a participation in the budget process.
For example, you cannot even ask questions, no, because there are certain matters being discussed during the deliberations. But since we are not members of Congress, no, we are limited, no. So what we do is that we try to channel our issues and questions through certain legislators whom we feel are sympathetic or agree with our point of view. So
Okay.
that's how we have been trying to participate. Although we would have wanted to participate more directly, no, in terms of asking questions or making comments. But anyway, we did submit our position papers on to the different
Pero hindi niyo po
committees.
nakikita so far yung mga sinabi niyo sa position paper in the current draft of the budget.
Hindi pa kasi hindi pa kasi final eh. Pero we know of certain legislators who have been articulating our position.
Can you share with us who those legislators are?
Well, in the House of Representatives, now we have, for example, Congressman Antonio Tino of the ACT party list, no, and the other party list sectoral representatives, no. They've been the ones most
So
open.
mga party list po yung
Most open,
pinaka-open.
yeah. At saka yung to some extent yung ding akbayan, no, may pinupush ng agenda na gusto namin, no, or in a way reflect our position on many matters.
Yeah. Since you're also active in ensuring that the PhilHealth funds are returned properly to PhilHealth, yung pag-legislate po ngayon ng proposed budget for PhilHealth, some taxpayers are arguing that parang twice sila pinabayad when you put that 60 billion pesos as part of the budget of PhilHealth for 2026. Ang posisyon ng iba dapat hiwalay pa yun, isole, pero meron separate na 60 million and more na nakalagay sa PhilHealth budget. What's your take on that? Is this something that you raised in your initiatives sa 2026 budget?
Yes, that is true. No? We feel that we should not make the Filipino taxpayers pay twice, no, for what was taken away from them. No? Kasi yung PhilHealth, ano yan, no? Kinuha yung ano nila, no? Pera nila that's supposed to be for their medical expenses. And now, because of the Supreme Court ruling, we are making the people again through their taxes pay, no, for what was
So
illegally.
parang wala talagang sinole, no? Because
parang wala. Double whammy. Double whammy yan.
Kinuha na from
kumbaga sa
the past.
double jeopardy pa.
Okay, so paano nga, anong mababago po for 2026? Because we've seen the number, I think it's like 100-something billion. But that does include the 60 billion na isusoli lang sa PhilHealth. What would you try to do differently before this budget is passed? Are you still trying to have the BICAM increase the 2026 budget for PhilHealth?
Well, we want our legislators to feel that the people are watching their move, no? Yung ginagawa nila ngayon, because in the light of the scandals related to the national budget and NEP, because we feel that the people should really be more active in watching and through transparency measures in participating in the budget process, no? And we should not just be waiting for the budget to be passed or become
Pero yung sabi niyo po,
spectators.
di ba, ang daming rules for you to even participate.
Yeah,
And you're
yun
even
ang-
one of the accredited groups.
yun
Pero
ang-
madami silang restrictions. So how can people really meaningfully participate?
Well, that's why we are trying to push for more of these rules to be changed, if not edited, no.
In the 2024 COA audit reports of the DOH, COA flagged more than 1 billion pesos of denied and unresolved PhilHealth claims in 13 DOH hospitals. But this was just in 2024. With the transfer of the 60 billion pesos in the past year from PhilHealth, would you know if this worsened the hospital funding lapses of PhilHealth? But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. We continue our conversation with Professor Roland Simbulan of CENPEG. Professor Roland, in 2024, the COA audit reports of the DOH flagged more than 1 billion pesos of denied and unresolved PhilHealth claims in 13 DOH hospitals. And that was just for 2024. When 60 billion pesos was transferred from PhilHealth, would you know if this worsened the hospital funding lapses in 2025?
Yes, it may have worsened these lapses here, but what we object to is that whenever they mention about this money that was taken or transferred from PhilHealth, they usually use the term excess daw, no? Eh, these are not really excess funds. In fact, kulang na kulang yung pondo ng PhilHealth, no? In fact, kung meron mang sobra, dapat ginagamit sa pagbabawas ng premiums, 'di ba, sa mga lalo na indigent members, no? At saka sa pag-expand ng mga services because kahit na doon sa laboratory lang tests these are very expensive and many of our people cannot afford to take it out of their pocket.
Yung MAIF-IP, yung Medical Assistance for Indigents, linakihan yung budget. Dun sa BICAM, this is something that took a long time in the deliberations, but lumaki siya. Do you think this is something that would help Filipinos ease the burden for medical services?
Well, hopefully it will. No? But what we're concerned about is that this MAIF may again be used as a form of patronage by some of our politicians. No? And that's why we, as much as possible, we don't want our politicians to be involved or to have a say in these services that really rightfully belong to the people.
Oo, bakit hindi na lang ilipat yung MAIF sa PhilHealth kung sinasabi yung kulang pa yung linagay sa PhilHealth budget for 2026?
Yes, precisely. Mas mabuti nga kung na lang ilagay sa PhilHealth o kaya dagdagan yung DOH budget mismo, no? Kaysa naman mag-create pa ng isa na namang parang ayuda in kind, no?
Yeah.
No, para nakaka-reinforce lang ito sa sa patronage system natin and we feel that this is not good for our country.
Senate President Tito Soto confirmed a looming idea among senators to reenact the 2025 budget should there be a continuing deadlock. But PBBM said he does not want a reenacted budget because government projects could face delays. What is your opinion on this issue?
Well, Attorney Karen, why should we reenact the worst budget in Philippine legislative history? No? I mean, we are in this mess because of precisely this budget, no? That went into many scams and flood control projects that were not even made or finished, no? So why are we going to reenact it, no? That's why we keep on repeating the same mistakes before and even worsening them.
Have you been monitoring the BICAM committee meetings?
Yes, supposedly the open and transparent BICAM meetings.
Bakit supposedly? Para sa inyo ba hindi pa siya open and transparent enough?
Hindi pa.
Ano pang
pa
kulang
talaga.
po?
Sana meron ding channel where people or even citizens can let us say make submissions so that they can make recommendations. Actually, Karen, just to mention, what we're trying to do now is to improve our lobbying system, no, in Congress, and we're trying to do this through the staff of the legislators, no, because we feel that many of the legislators depend heavily on their staff, especially technical staff. So, if we're able to make our presence felt and influence the staff members, maybe we can maybe indirectly influence or be heard by
How are
the
you able to do that
legislators.
at the moment?
Well, forging ties and good relations with the staff members, especially of key legislators
Oo.
in Congress. Kasi
But that's like more of an informal channel, no? So what you're looking for is really an instituted form of transparency and this ability to be consulted
Yeah.
and give your inputs.
yes.
Sa ngayon po ba, pinapayagan kayo na mag-attend ng BICAM in person? anyone from CENPEG?
Not officially. Not officially. Kasi wala sa house rules nila yan eh.
Bawal.
Bawal.
Oo. So
Sila
hanggang
lang
live
talaga.
stream lang talaga kayo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tsaka you cannot even enter the hall unless you are authorized. Kailangan gawan ka pa ng special na ID or authorization para
So among the
makapasok.
civil society groups, wala pong pinapayagan so far na pumasok sa BICAM in person?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you also you try to advocate for legislation, and party list system is one of the reforms that you are advocating for. Ano
Yes.
specifically sa party list legislation do you want to change?
Actually, yung party list legislation that we are trying to push, especially reforms in the party list system, is related to our struggle and campaign to finally legislate an anti-political dynasty bill.
So magkadugtong po
related
ito.
dyan.
Oo.
Kasi ito kasing party list system, since it was made into law, supposedly to implement the constitutional directive on the party list system, ang ginawa ng mga political dynasties, nakita nila na isang paraan nito para madagdagan yung mga membro ng pamilya nila dyan sa political system natin. So halimbawa, and by the way, it's even cheaper for them to do so, and that has been shown in many times in many areas. But in terms of the party list system, we feel that there should be a law so that COMELEC will be stricter in the registration of these party list groups, because they have the political dynasties have in fact forgive me for using this term, infiltrated even the party list system that was meant for the marginalized sectors of our society.
Well, actually,
to be
as an
represented.
example, sa Leyte po, you have Speaker Martin Romuald, as former Speaker Martin, and his wife is also in Congress, pero through a party list, and now their son is also in Congress through the party list system.
Yes.
So, ngayon po, are you coordinating with any groups to have a version of the anti-political dynasty bill that would affect the Party List Reform Act?
Well, there have been some legislation or proposed bills filed recently to try to reform the party list groups so that it will be harder or more difficult for these members of political dynasties to use this, because they use this as, for example, when their term limits are up, they use this so that they can again run, or even add members of their family in the political system. Because we already have too many political dynasties. Imagine 70% of our Congress belong to political dynasties.
Yes.
That's
And
why people
finally,
are asking.
Professor Roland,
Yes.
because we're already running out of time, mabalik tayo sa PhilHealth. Since you're calling for accountability and for people to be held liable, when can we expect your group or any of the groups that you're working with to file cases against those that were involved in the PhilHealth fund transfer?
Well, we are not really in the business of directly filing cases. What we do is to do research and do advocacy work and make our positions be heard and articulated to legislators as well as the general public. But we will support any effort to prosecute those who are criminally liable in this mess and
Okay.
scandal.
And you're helping with the case build-up.
Yes, we are trying to help.
Thank you so much, Professor Roland, and such a pleasure to have you this morning.
Yes, thank you also for this opportunity.
The 60 billion peso fund is set to be returned to PhilHealth, but groups like CENPEG call for accountability against those who made the transfer happen in the first place. But the real concern for Filipinos is whether PhilHealth can effectively provide health services to its members and whether the government can ensure illegal fund transfers don't happen again in the future. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your morning with us.